I've had a few questions coming up lately just asking about, in general, as a 3D artist, what is the right way to approach ingesting CAD data? So it's not an easy question, and for those of you that aren't in the space of ingesting engineering data, CAD data, also known as B-Rep, B-Spline, engineering, it's all CATIA, SolidWorks, Rhinoceros, and otherwise. It's all a bit of a beast. It's a separate pipeline from polygons, which is generally what you'll see in the games and animation world. So there's a nifty tool I'm going to pull up called PiXYZ Studio that coincidentally is owned by Unity, so that works out great. That I was a customer of PiXYZ before moving to Unity, and now I still get to use it often. The main idea of PiXYZ Studio is that it's comparable to a Maya, a 3ds Max, a Blender, but super focused on ingesting data, whether it be point cloud or CAD, and getting it through an optimization pipeline, getting that pipeline down right, and then being able to automate that through Python scripts so it can just go again and again and again. So what I'm trying to do today, as I mentioned, is go through this workflow and show how generally I would say that this can be done quickly. Within our hypothetical that I'll be showing, let's say I have an executive who's come to me and said, I need you to have an experience for me that I can show to our investors in 4 hours. They're on their way here now. We have a brand new iteration of this thing. Please get it to me, and I appreciate it. So now I'm sitting here as the engineer saying, 4 hours. If it's a new design, it's not even in polygons yet. So let's try to get through this. I'm going to go as fast as I can while trying to keep this still engaging and understandable. So let's assume I am that engineer. Okay, first thing is I need to import this CAD data and see what it even looks like. So let me come over here to a raw import. I'm going to grab what's an aircraft engine that I've worked through a pipeline previously that I've seen, so I know that at least the data is there. It all comes through. If you get half of the data in the initial file, we have much bigger problems if you have a deliverable in 4 hours. So I'm just going to pull through something that I know actually has data. It's all in here, and I can work with it. So let's go ahead and go through some of the very initial cleanup. What I would do first is, so we have 431 part occurrences, 0 triangles because it's not tessellated yet. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into CAD, repair CAD, make sure that there aren't any immediate obvious issues that need to be repaired. And I'm going to come over here and do mesh. Let's continue over here for now. We'll just do tessellate, get it tessellated. There are a lot of extra settings here around how I could create UVs. Could or could not be useful here, but I'm just going to execute and get it to continue forward. I'm moving on a tight timeline, right? Okay. 431 components, 205,000. I don't need this to be super performant, simply because it's going to be a desktop application that my executive can use to show this thing spinning or moving or visualizing it. So what I'm going to do is optimize it slightly, but it's not my key priority right here. So let's just say we've done the repair CAD, we've done the tessellation. Let's do a quick repair mesh, see if any triangles drop. A few did. So there were some issues in there that it just helped out with. And now in optimize, I'm going to remove holes. So these are any unintentional holes within the mesh. That dropped us down 10,000. That's awesome. Let's do a smart hidden removal. There's some other advanced items within here, but I'm just going to execute. The idea here is that it's taking a virtual camera, spinning it around the object, and if there are any items in here that the camera can't see as it orbits it, it's going to cull those out and eliminate them because we don't need them for our rendering purposes or our external viewing purposes. If we need it all to explode out and to visualize every internal piece, it's not something I would be using right now. I think outside of that, I'm going to decimate the quality. So maximum distance between surface vertices, resulting simplified. Okay, so I'm going to leave that where it's at for now. I'm just going to execute. We get down to 160. I would push this further, of course, if this was an immediate timeline that needed to run on mobile or something like that. But given it's one component, I'm happy with that. What I would start to do is come in here and decimate down to target and start forcing decimation. So I can figure all of this out. Say this is the try count I'm going to. You can imagine brute forcing it that way is not the most ideal of situations as far as topology. So for now, I'm just going to leave it. Again, we can push it much further. I don't care to for this use case for what my executive has asked me. So let's keep moving. So I'm going to select our root, come over here. It needs some UVs because I'm assuming we got none. Cool. Turning that on and ensuring that I get everything in here. Cool. Feeling pretty good about that. Maybe I'll raise it up just a little bit. And pull this over just a bit. Okay, I'm happy. Pull it over a tiny bit more. Okay, so once I have UVs in a spot where I'm happy, I'm just going to... I'm happy with that. I'll leave it at 0, apply the selection. Okay, let's just see how this goes, and we will figure it out. So if I turn on checker, that shows me the UV content. If I go to window, or rather UVs, viewer, it's not usable. It's not helpful at all. And I've done a different one in channel 0 and channel 1. So let's make it usable. I'm going to repack the UVs. I'm going to repack them on 0 for now. And we are repacking UVs, so let's see how this goes. The idea here is that we should be able to go into UVs, UV viewer, and see that it's all laid out. It's a bit of a garbage map too. There's no real rhyme or reason. So hopefully we can overcome a lot of these small issues here with our texturing process. But this is quick. All in all, this has taken me less than 10 minutes to get it in polygons and figuring out what is going to be happening next. Cool. Now looking through this, what I do want to ensure is that I'm not rushing. So let's again assume that I am this engineer. I want to import this again. And it's because I think I'm seeing a visual artifact that I don't like. Let me grab this. Let me go ahead and repair the CAD, execute, and tessellate. Okay, so we're all good. Actually, it's in the base mesh. So I did this because this as an artist to me looks wrong. This component just hanging out here. And I wanted to be sure that I didn't somehow cull something that I did not mean to. So this is just me pulling in the base data one more time and doing a quick visual check. And I'm happy. So I'm gonna delete out what I just brought in. Pull back open this, make sure it's the one that I wanted by checking the UVs. Cool. Now, in theory, this will all go through Substance Painter. So, I want materials to be broken out in a way that I find to be relatively easy to understand. So, what I'm going to do is compress all of this down within scene, merge by tree level. Let's merge here. And as annoying as this is going to be, I just want to make sure that the UVs are still good. So I'm going to reapply. I'm going to look in the viewer. And it looks like we're good. I'm just going to repack once more. This is me being overly cautious, but wanting to make sure when I combine a bunch of pieces of this model that we don't have significant issue. So I'm going to hang out here for just a minute, and then we can keep on moving forward and figure out what we want to do next. For the sake of time, if it looks like this repack is taking a bit too long, since I'm doing it just to double check myself, maybe I'll stop because it's already repacked and maybe it's having an odd issue there. So I'm going to stop that execution. And let's just keep moving forward and see what happens. Okay, cool. So we've stopped it properly. I see some stab components in here. So what are those? Cool. So I'm assuming everything with stab is going to be nice. So I want a material on everything. There are no materials in here, so let's just get materials on. And everything is black. That's fine. Now what I need to do is to start to make selections. So I can do a couple just by hand, assuming that I'm happy with this. And actually, yeah, I'm quite happy with that. So let me throw blue on there. I'm imagining that these pieces coming around here are going to be something maybe slightly different, even if they're the same. I'm going to break them out just in case. I like the black back here being the same as the blacks in the center pieces. So let's see what this is called. I'm going to hit Control F. Product 2. Looks good. It looks like there are one or two pieces that aren't named Product 2 that I still want to have in there. So I'm going to grab those. Happy with that. I'm going to make these dark green. Then I noticed those pieces earlier that had stab in them. Let's see. Not as an addition to Product 2, just as its own name. I like those. I think those should be their own color. So let's make those red. I think this is kind of neat, all staying that same black. I imagine it'll be like a cool stainless. Okay, I want that to be something unique. I want the rotor blade to be something unique. And I want this to be something unique. I think the only other thing I might like would be some of these bolts to be a different color. for visual interest. So maybe I'll go by root, select by maximum size, take this down to 50. Is that too much stuff? Yeah, I think it is. So let me come back out here. Instead, let's drop this to 25, maybe 30. Let's try 30. I'm happier with that. So let me set all of this to pink. I believe is unused right now. Cool. I think this is really coming along. So what I've done now is I've basically broken these into mask texture components within the material. So obviously I don't want my end render to look like this. I want it to be a lot cleaner. So this is what I'm going to use to define where different materials go, either inside of Substance, if I use a mask ID map or material ID map, or in Unity, if I pull them all through as their own materials. So my idea here would be save the project, demo 3D. Okay, we'll call this engine main colors, meaning I have different colors assigned. Then I'm going to export the selection as a engine colors .fbx. So you can see all the different types I could export that as. That's what I'm going to do for right now. All right. So there are all those. I just put it all as black. The reason for that, we'll see if this works or not, is that I want to export the selection as an engine main v1.fbx. Let's just see if I pull over Substance Painter, if that pulls through. So I'm going to set this to 4K just because Unity HD render pipeline is what's already selected, so that's great. Engine main v1. So we have an auto unwrap, so I could even do that. Discard anything that I had previously. Cool. This looks good. And you can see what I've done is created one material. Just to show you, if I did this with the colors, the issue with this is that it comes through with every material separated out, meaning that each one of these is a 4K map. That can be good, obviously, if you want super high fidelity, but I do not want whatever this is, 6, 7 different 4K maps for one engine component. I've got, let's just call it 2 hours left right now. So I am not wanting all of that. I want it all in one material. So I'm going to instead go back to where we were. Go back to main. Discard this. Now here is the super cool thing about Substance Painter, is if I go into the texture set settings, I can come down into where we bake mesh maps. And what I can do is designate the colors version of this with all the different materials as the map that we want to bake everything from. So this is going to bake things like normal, material ID, which is what I've just spent time creating, ambient occlusion, as well as others. So I'm going to go ahead, I don't know that we need some of these, but I'm going to go ahead and bake it. I would like to set it, I'm just going to do 2K for now. I'll leave the dilation and everything else where it is. I'll put on super sampling slightly, and I'll match by mesh name. Those are not necessary to mirror me on. I'm doing it because I've seen some good success with it previously, and it speeds up my workflow. So that's what I'm going to do for now. So it just went through all of those. I was actually really happy with how they all looked. So let's get back over to painting. I'm just going to click the paint icon up here in the top right. Super happy with this. So now, and this is the part that I love about Material ID Maps, is we baked it all, which means that these smart materials will work properly. If we had not baked it, it would not be working. The smart materials would look like absolute garbage. So I'll start by saying that. You have to bake it out. And you don't need the higher resolution mesh. You can just bake without one marked. If you wanted all 6 materials, you would have loaded in the other model and then just used itself to bake everything. You don't need to put anything in that higher definition dialog box in the bake. So what I'm going to do, I want to find something that's cool, but that's going to present well. So we have some things in the smart materials that are like dirty, and I like it, but I think it's going to look bad for presentation. So I could come in here and I could turn off rust, leave the dust on there. Dust is kind of cool. So you can see that the dust knows where to go only because we've marked this stuff. I dig it. I dig it, man. I'm just gonna leave that. I like the yellow. We'll figure it out. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that as the base coat. Okay. Now let's see. I'll just grab a few things. The first one being, what do I want like these head caps to be? I'm gonna say like a bright stainless. I think would be cool. Brushed metal, sandblasted metal. Let's go sandblasted for right now. Now that's gonna take over everything, which we don't like. What we do want it to do, and you can see here, it's a little bit too in my taste, a little bit too granular anyways. So let me up that to 2. I like that. Okay, cool. So what I want to do now is the reason we did the material map, which is add mask with color selection. So I'm going to click on that, and then it's going to give me, when I select this, the ability to pick a color. Now when I pick color, it's going to change because of the original mesh that I baked in with the different materials in that original bake step. So I'm going to hit pick color, and it all comes through. And what this does is it allows me to pick any of these colors. So if I want it to be this green, I'm going to hit the green. And now it's going to intelligently only assign this to the green components. Now, what do we want for these? Let's say this bright, maybe I want this to be like a plastic. So that's kind of gross. I'm gonna up that quite a bit. Better. So I'm going to make the tubes this one, meaning I need to do another, and then I'm going to select the tubes. It's a bit boring though, don't you think? So maybe I'll I guess these are in theory made of metal, right? So I don't want it to be too ridiculous. Let's just do something like that for now. Then I want to do As you can tell, much of this is just for funsies. Okay, so I put veined marble on here, which is gonna take a hot second to apply. We'll see. If this freezes everything up, I will admit defeat. Okay. Again, some fun artistic choices I'm making right now. So with the color selection, for now, I like that. I will not like that in a little bit here. And now just for the rotor head, I'm going to add a black mask for now. I just want to do something interesting. Right now I'm on the mask, which is why you didn't see any of these settings. So let's just say I want something bright and orange to alert people that they're walking towards the front of a spinning rotor. And then I want to come in here, and I can do this two ways. One is with the color selection. The other is just selecting faces. Because we've done the color selection, I'm just going to continue this. But let's say like this rotor blade somehow got left in this other texture. And I don't love that being made of what appears to be marble. So let's see if I have a carbon fiber. Hey, okay, we have carbon fiber. So let me throw this in here. And then this one is going to be a little bit different in that I don't... Oh, spinning wheel. There we go. This one's going to be a little bit different in that I don't have it separated out by color, right? Because I made a mistake. But I don't have time to go back and fix it because I have a deadline. First thing I want to do with the carbon fiber is up the tiling because that's obscene. Still obscene. I'll take it, sure. Now I'm going to assign a black mask, which will take it off of everything. I would have thought. So now we need to figure out what this red X is. Instead of figuring out what the red X is, let's delete it and pull it back in. Okay, cool. So again, let's turn the tiling up, and now I want a black mask. Better. Unsure what just happened, and luckily I don't need to find out. So with the mask selected, I'm going to hit on doing this by faces, and now what I can do is, and honestly, I think if I go by parts, I should be able to just do that. Nice! So let's just do that. So I did it by part. I highlighted some of the part. It intelligently masked where it knew that I wanted it to mask. Cool. So now I'll get out of that so you don't see the wireframe everywhere. And I think that's looking pretty dang cool. Okay. Let's do a little bit more. We're just going to say paint. You can see some seams here that we don't like, but luckily the paint brought it out a ton. So I'm hoping it'll go back away when we do a color selection. Can't see that at all. That's really nice. Pick color, pick the red, and let's just turn this to a looks pretty reasonable. And then last thing I'm going to do is just grab the brushed metal. And I'm going to do a color selection, pick color, and grab this pink. I hate that. I think it's, again, just needs some tiling. Better. So in all likelihood, this yellow would not be appreciated by my boss to show. The blue may not be either. I think for the sake of a visualization, I don't feel too bad about it. Come back to this yellow and see if we need to turn it something. You know, I think I'll take the L and leave it yellow. I like it. I think it's gonna look good. So I'm feeling good about this. It's looking good. Components are how I want them. Maybe the metal brushed I could pull a little lighter or darker. Let's see. Whoa. Okay. Fine. If you insist, I'll make it pretty. Alright. I can't be held liable for the colors that I've chosen, but they're fun. I enjoy them. We'll use them for today. So let me save this inside of 3D. Let's do engine 1. And then I'm also going to come down here and export textures. And feeling pretty good about that. Not good about that. So let me change where it's exporting to. I'm going to come down here into 3D. And we're going to select that folder and I'll export these main maps. Okay. Now, what I need to do, I'm going to, we can either do 3D sample scene of HDRP or we can just do 3D core and then upgrade it to HDRP or download HDRP. I think I'll do the latter. Not because it's faster, but because this is a bit more informative as to what we're doing. I'm going to create the project. We're going to do it in 3D core. While that project is opening, we have downloaded an HDRI image here, just a cloud sky dome. Hopefully that's going to look good for our customer, or rather our executive. Within this folder, I've dragged it over here. So we have our 8K image. We're going to use that to make a cube map, which will then be our HDRI sky that will essentially give us lighting and reflection information for our scene. So let us figure that out when we get there. So Unity's opening right now. I have the loading bar on my other screen here. Looks like it has finished. So let me open this up and cool. I'm going to go ahead and drag our engine main 1. We don't want engine colors because we only used that for our masking of the textures. And now I want my 3 textures that go with it. And I want my HDRI sky. So here's everything. I want to create a material. And when I go to the shader for which type, there is no HDRP. That's because we opened Core. So what I want to do now is to go to Window, Package Manager. Looking in the project, I don't see High Definition Render Pipeline either. So I want to go to High Definition here, Install. And now it is installing. So what is usually happening in the background of Unity, whenever you're launching the template HDRP scene, the reason it takes longer than Core is because it's taking care of a lot of this for you, and you don't need to worry about it. What we've done instead here is we've launched Core. Again, it wasn't to save me time. This one was more just to show you all what you do if you get Unity open and it doesn't have HDRP, you're not sure what to do next. Here's HDRP. So let's let this finish. And it looks like it's taking anything that it needs and importing it currently. Luckily, we've already dragged in the model, the textures, and the sky map texture, or the skybox texture. And as soon as this finishes up, shouldn't take more than a minute or two, we can go in here, drag the engine in, start to see what it's going to look like with the HDRP materials. One of the core things that you'll notice is that I only have 3 textures, and the material that we were just looking at before HDRP was installed had a lot more spaces than that for everything that I needed to put in. That's because a mask map is used specifically in HDRP. So I'm going to close the package manager. The HDRP wizard comes up, which makes my life far too easy. I'm just going to hit Fix All. Do you want to create a fresh HDRP render pipeline asset in the default resource folder? Yes, I do. Usually, if this wasn't here, I would need to go into my project, right-click, create, rendering, HDRP asset, edit, project settings, rendering, verify what's in there, and double-check that it's all set up. Instead, I've clicked a button, which is very, very nice. I appreciate all the work that has gone into the wizard here to get things automated for me as an end user. So now this is going to run. It's fixing the last few things for me. And then we should be in a good place. Cool. I'm really happy with that. What I also want to do is come over to HDRP plus DXR and just fix this as well. The idea being that I would like to use ray tracing at minimum, just to get something that looks pretty toasty. I'm going to go ahead and restart the editor as I am asked to do so. All right, so now we'll get that restarted. And then now we should be all set up that we could just run quickly. So I think we're maybe 40, 45, 50 minutes in. I'll wait 1 second while Unity is loading so that it does not chug on the video. And this is basically for the first time with all these new settings, getting everything loaded up. So this will take just 1 moment. I'm hoping that my end goal here with being asked to visualize this for my boss will be showing it looking nice with a skybox, with good lighting, with shadows, all that, as well as some interactive element. So my goal would be, despite the fact that I am not a programmer, maybe we can turn to something like Unity's Muse that I believe is in public or private beta right now, the AI tool, to get code generated for us maybe that will, what would be cool here? Probably having the rotor spin. So maybe a key press to spin rotor. I would call that a win. Okay, so the initial asset database refresh is happening as we speak. At this point, we're about 2 minutes in on the HDRP loading, and it should not take much longer. So hopefully we'll get through this imminently. And we're off. Okay, we're in a good way. So everything is green. It does say here screen space shadows. Okay, so a few things in here. I can go into my project settings, drag this over here. Inside of my asset, there are a few things that I want to turn on. So we have screen space shadows, screen space reflection, transparency of screen space reflection, and screen space GI. So let's see what we're dealing with. Screen space GI, screen space shadows, in reflections, we have screen space reflections and transparency. Let me exit out and see how much of this we addressed. Screen space shadows. Thought I had gotten it, but let's double check. If not, this is one of those things that if I'm moving, I am moving forward. Huh, okay. Thank you, HDRP Wizard. I'm going to close out of this now. I'm going to drag this engine in. One thing to note is inside of project settings, inside of HDRP global settings, this has a lot of items mentioned here, like tone mapping ACEs is already selected, which is one of the first things that I do to get something looking right. So a lot of this is going to look good off the bat. We have bloom, we have ambient occlusion, we have regular shadows. Some of this we need to turn on, like the screen space and otherwise. However, a lot of this is already turned on for us. So HDRI sky here is looking for a default HDRI sky. The alternative to doing this in here would be doing it inside of a global volume that I set up here by going to volume, global volume. But instead, I'm just going to drag this off screen for a moment, come into this, indicate that this is a cube map, apply that. And then once that is applied, I'm going to bring this back over. Now that's a cube map inside of HDRI Sky. It's looking for that, so I'm going to drag this in. Looks good. I have control in here. Again, I could have my volume in here and take control there. So I'm just going to exit. And then this material that I was creating is now pink because we're in a different render pipeline. So now I need to go into HDRP, lit to be a regular material. We'll leave it as opaque. Luckily, we don't have transparency much in this model. Already had one in here. Let's get into it. Okay. So I think this is looking fantastic. What I'm going to do now is grab all of these things and I'm going to drag this new material onto them. Components that are only on some of these selected objects cannot be edited. Interesting. Let's see what we're doing here. That would be the fast way, I would think, to add this material to everything. So let's see why this isn't working. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is troubleshooting why the material isn't dragging over. The easiest way to figure this out is by clicking on a few of these things and understanding which of these don't have materials on them. Right now, everything I'm seeing has material, meaning there's something in here. This. Perhaps it is that. That doesn't. So what I'm going to do is unpack this prefab entirely. Some of these pieces that came through, in a perfect world, I don't like it. I would want to get it out. In all likelihood, for right now, I'm not going to be able to take the time because I have an objective, right? So I'm just looking through this guy. Now, so far, it looks like everything else is roughly good, so let me drag this and see. No. Alright, we're going to do the... In theory, one wouldn't have to do this. Alright, again, moving on the fly. I'm just going to take components or pieces and drag these in. And then do it in chunks, so that way I can hopefully find, okay, it's in here. Okay, it's in there. That. Looking good. Let's see if I can get all the way up to the top now. Yep, that was it. So there's one piece hiding in there. Not ideal. I wish I had caught that earlier, but here we are. Okay. A couple things that I want to add to the global volume. So I'm going to create a... Where are you? There you are. Global volume. Profile. Let's come back over here and see what the default settings volume profile. We'll just use that so that we can see it. And then we're going to add an override with screen space GI. Let's take off the gizmos. Wow. This is pretty cool. Okay, sorry. Getting carried away. I don't know if we'll need this or not, but... Alright. Let's go ahead and drag stuff in. So here's new material, base map. mask map. Normal map. Normal map might not be in here as normal. So if you see weirdness with the normal map, that's likely what's going on. Let me come in here and just do I'm just going to do a plane. And I don't think I want to mess with this, but let's see. Alright, so I'm going to go into lighting and just build my lights to see what's popping off. Okay. Go ahead and save my scene. Generate the lighting. So we won't see many changes here, which is totally cool. So what I want to do is come back into shadows. Maybe not. Screen space shadows, ray trace shadows. Okay, now the shadows are starting to look better. Let's also get this light so it's actually looking good. Like that. Okay. Could even be the direction light needs. Okay. I'm good with that for now. What I want to do too is figure out if okay, so that doesn't have a good pivot. It's one issue that I need to figure out. So what I'm going to do is pull this way down here. And possibly just pull it out here. And then I'm going to create empty. Can you redo? Better? Yeah. Better. Not better. Alright, I'm just going to come over here and create an empty game object. And then what I want is for this thing to be pretty locked in. So now if I pull this here, Better. Okay. So all I did was create an empty game object for the pivot. Okay, let me get back out. There we go. Back to the Okay, very nice. Alright guys, I can't help myself. I'm gonna make some fog. It's again because everything is so... Alright, so in this directional light, everything looks pretty good. We'll do it later. I was thinking about doing some cool effects with light shafts, but I don't think it's necessary right now. Let me come back over into visual environment and then HDR sky. Cool. Okay. Let us do what is this? So that's the x-axis facing away from me. Okay. Write me a C# script that will rotate a game object on its x-axis begin rotating game object on its x-axis when I hit spacebar, and will stop rotating that game object when I hit spacebar. Again, make the direction of rotation a public boolean, and the speed of rotation a public int. So I don't code, but I know enough coding to kind of know what I'm talking about. So let's see. I like what's happening. Attach the script to the game object you want to rotate. Alright, so I'm going to copy, come back over here, create C# script. What was the name here? Rotate object. Ugh. Okay, so I need to rename this rotate object. I'm going to open it up. Let's see. Fingers crossed, right? So I'm gonna hit play. Whoop. Camera's a little far away, isn't it? Let me grab my camera first. If I had gizmos, it would be a little helpful, wouldn't it? I mean, let's just see if this is even going to work first, right? Usually that cap spins with the rotor from what I understand. So I'm going to grab that and pull it way down too. Okay, maximized. I want to move my camera just a little bit. So I'm actually going to do this. Nice. So we're actually hitting the near clipping plane. This thing is so small. And now what I think I want to do is to come back out here. I'm trying to think of what would make this presentable, right? Write me a C# script that will go between 3 different cameras in an array when pressing 1, 2, or 3 on the keyboard. We'll see. I think I'm pushing my luck a little bit trying to get the script just spat out that'll work immediately, but perhaps it'll just work. Okay, camera switcher is the name. Empty game object in scene. Okay. Open it up, so I'm looking at the right thing. Okay, I just pasted that, saving that. Create empty. Camera switcher. I don't know how that would possibly work. Yeah, I don't know how this would possibly work, but so I'm gonna lower the new clipping plane. And then the last camera, again, I don't see how this should work, but we'll find out. Honestly, in some cases, a clipping plane might not be bad. My assumption is that this will not work. No way. Really? Well, there you have it, folks. So I'm switching between cameras. I want the rotor to spin. The clipping plane issue I need to fix. So let me fix that. Holy cow. Well, I think we're in a pretty good way. What I would want to change is the order of cameras, so I'm curious how I can do that. Surely it's not that, is it? Nope. So knowing that duplicating the camera seemed to work, I'm going to duplicate that and put it up front. Now in theory, I should do exactly what I want. Put that in local and change the field of view so it's a little bit bigger. I think doing this might really mess up the presentation, frankly. We'll figure it out. Let's see. Okay. Now it looks like the propeller's dipping through my plane. Just going to mark this as static. Generate lighting. And then I think I would call this good. It still looks like it's dipping, doesn't it? Could that be the far clipping plane? Surely not. So I'm getting some weirdness there. So I think what I would likely do would be, I didn't see the weirdness with the other cameras. I'm going to go global, shift this, turn it. Let's see. Now in theory, it's going backward, isn't it? So now what I want to do is come into this game object, make it 750, and click that, and save. I hope we don't mess anything up. I would call that pretty good for an hour's work, maybe hour and a half. So last step would be File, Build and Run. I guess I'll do build settings, won't I? We're going to Windows 64-bit. Cool. Alright, so I'll build this out to builds. And we'll see. So it's kicking out a build right now. And then once this is built out, the idea is that then I have an executable in a data folder, and I can get this to my EVP imminently. The only downside of this is that the workflow is not that extensible, so it's really more of a stopgap in an immediate need for something. What I'd really do in eventuality would be to leverage some more cloud-based systems to make this replicable, and likely have a template project that I will have built where I can just load stuff in. That would be how to make this reusable and not a one-off. Okay, so there that is. The build is done. Let me see where it's planning on running. And it looks like it's running on a different screen, so let me switch the display capture over to that screen. Okay, so as of right now, here's my mouse. There's camera 1, 2, and 3. Again, these are not ideal. You can also see a bit of lack of centering of this cone, so I'd probably go back and fix that. All right, y'all. With that, I'll leave it. That's about where I would take it to if I had a couple hours and a tight deadline. I'd send this out after a few more small changes. But let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully this has been helpful to see ingestion of CAD, tessellation, optimization, texturing, material IDs, exporting the materials for HDRP, setting up an HDRP scene, getting lighting running with your HDRI image, turning on some of those features like screen space, shadows, ambient occlusion, all that good stuff, and then exporting a build on Windows. All in all, pretty quick stuff. Thanks for watching. See ya.